everyone. After rain comes sunshine. The Olympiad has not been great for me so far, but in round 8, the tide has turned. Things have changed, and I would really love to show you what happened in today's game. So, today I played Lara Schulze from Germany. So, we were paired up against Germany. And last year, we also played Germany when I played in European teams. And I remember that I believe it was before the rest day, and I prepared against two players. And both players, I was playing with black pieces too, and my preparation was the French against both players back then. And I could use a lot of the preparation from last year for this year's matchup too. But the only problem was that Lara did not play last year, so she was not one of those opponents that I faced last year. But it was still quite similar. All of these players play e4, so that made things quite easy. As after e4, which she did start with, I played e6, back to the French, d4, d5, and here Lara plays a number of moves. And since my recent disastrous games against advanced French, I was very certain, well, let's say I was 70% certain that I would face the advanced French today. Because last year that also happened and it was quite rough. I was struggling quite a lot, but I managed to draw last year. And I thought that she was going to play the advanced too, and she did. She did play e5, which is not her main move against the French, but she has played it, but not so much. But I did expect this, as I said. So, c5, c3, knight c6, knight f3, hey, bishop d7. So I am, okay, I don't want to say well prepared, but I'm better prepared against this now. After all the disasters I have faced, I have experienced in this line. So bishop e2, and here I go knight ge7. So here the idea is to develop the knight first. I'm delaying the queen development because I want to keep the queen here so that I can play knight f5 easily. So my queen is very helpful on d8. After short castle, here I was actually not sure. So I remember knight a3 really well because that is one of the lines that I have played and I have faced recently. So I was kind of expecting knight a3, but after short castle I was thinking, am I supposed to play knight g6 now or knight f5? So I do remember that as soon as white castles, I'm able to play knight g6. But what I also remembered is that I can also play knight f5 no matter what, with or without castles. So then I started thinking, what should I actually go for? In the end, I went for knight f5 because I thought, okay, this feels like what I prepared. I did not remember my preparation well because I checked so many different lines, and I was trying to remember what I exactly prepared, because after d takes c5, I remember the move a5 so I can capture on c5 later and stop any sort of b4. But after bishop to d3, I was thinking, wait, I remember that I have to take here, and then bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and something like queen b6. But then I was like, I'm down a pawn. I have doubled pawns, and the only thing I have for that is the bishop pair. And I remember that this was what I prepared, as in like this is the line I checked. But during the game, I felt so uncomfortable being in this position that ultimately, after a long thought, after 10 minutes, I decided to play knight h4, because what's wrong with knight h4? Because I don't want to allow this line to happen. I don't want to double my pawns for no reason. And I thought, you know what? We're just going to play a game of chess. And here she also wasn't sure what to do. She played bishop f4. She spent quite some time as well. So that also made me feel really good because I was afraid that my move was terrible, but I couldn't quite see the move that is countering this. So if that's not the case, then it should be all right? So knight takes f3 check, queen takes f3, g5, and I did it. If not g5, then what do I do? I couldn't quite see what other moves I had, and I've been really scared this tournament to really push and just go crazy. Well, I have been going too crazy, which I got punished for, but I have also had moments that I'm just too scared to push pawns. So today I was like, we have to bring Anna-Maja back, and we played g5. And not just g5, but also h5, because otherwise then queen h5 will follow, and that's not really what we like to see. So h5, h3, and here I took on c5, and now knight d2, and here I really wanted to play g4, I really wanted to play g4, but I couldn't justify it. And then I thought, you know what, I'll just play queen e7. Apparently it is the best move to play g4 here, but I wasn't sure, I didn't like it, I didn't like that it was so forcing, and I wanted to involve my other pieces first, and I really needed my rook on a8 for this attack. So in case I play g4, I want to be ready to shift the rook from the queen side to the king side. Okay, that's a bad arrow, but yeah, I went for queen e7 because I want to play long castle. So queen e2, and here I go castle to the queen side, and the computer is really happy with white's position, but I think practically speaking it's not so easy to figure out what to do here, as I'm also ready to push pawns on the king side and try to complicate matters. But here my opponent went for b4, and she's sacrificing the pawn. Apparently she had to play something like a3 and actually prepare the move b4, but I guess after a4 it's not okay. Actually, a4 looks logical to try to stop this, but at the same time the pawn on a4 is really weak. So yeah, it's really hard to say what is going on in this position, I guess. But yeah, it makes sense that you want to prepare at least a pawn push, because after b4 I'm basically winning a pawn, but she does have a really nice attack. So I took, of course, c takes b4, knight takes b4, and rook fc1, and things are getting really complicated because my king is pretty exposed here. I only have one pawn in front of my king basically, and my pieces are a little bit loose on the queen side. So I do have a lot of pieces on the queen side to help, but at the same time it's not so clear. So here apparently there are two really good moves. The move king b8 or the move knight takes d3 are really good. I considered both these options, but I didn't like, let's say, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, and I basically didn't really like that things were getting really tricky over here for my king. I turned off the eval bar for a second because it's lagging a bit and I'm scared that it affects the camera. But yeah, just to quickly show, I didn't like this because I thought the knight is heading to d4, and worst case I can take that knight off the board, but I didn't like my bishop, and I thought I was going to get stuck on the dark squares. My dark squares are super weak, and that knight can be really annoying if I don't take it. So that's why. Let me put the eval bar back on. All right, it's back. So let's go back over here. Yeah, it's lagging quite a bit, so I hope that the camera is fine. Okay, it's fine for now. I guess it's fine. Anyway, I went back with the knight because I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to allow this, if I wanted to make it much easier for my opponent. Apparently that was not the case, but I just wanted to play it safe with knight c6 and head to d4 instead. And here she played rook a b1, and now I have the move knight to d4. Queen b1, bishop c6, and here I'm blocking everything. I'm blocking with my bishops on the c file, and after knight b3 I just take that, rook takes b3, and here I go for h4 because I want to make sure that that bishop is stuck on h2. I don't want it to come back to life. Let's say f3 is possible in the future, and then bishop f2 or bishop e1, and somehow the bishop comes back to life. I didn't want to allow it that easily. So bishop h2, and now the bishop is stuck there for a very good time. So that piece is out of the game. Let's focus on the queen side now, make sure that I don't get checkmated somehow, because king c7, a4. So I forgot to mention, you may be wondering, Anna, why are you not playing bishop a4? Well, I really wanted to, but there's a reason my opponent played rook takes b3. Obviously, my opponent has seen that I can play bishop a4, and I spent a lot of time, you know, part of me wants to believe my opponent that, okay, she knows what she's doing, but I have to be skeptical. I have to question whether this is actually good for her or not if I play bishop a4. So I'm calculating. I need to make sure that I'm calculating this, and I'm sure that it's either good or bad for me. But the problem is after bishop a4, there's rook takes b7. Crazy stuff, because bishop takes d1. Let me put it on the board. Bishop takes d1, rook takes e7, and my bishop is pinned. I'm going to lose a piece. So instead, I should take with the king. The queen cannot capture because the bishop is hanging on c5. So that's why king takes b7, and then queen takes a4, and my king is extremely exposed. And yes, I have rook a8, there's queen b5, bishop b6, I saw all of this, but I was like, I think I'm going to lose that. I cannot see the loss yet, because let's say rook c6, queen d8, like I'm holding on, but something tells me that I'm going to lose this regardless. Like my rooks are dead, there's no good defense on the king, on the queen side, but yeah, I didn't see like the win here, but I figure that it's a long-term plan here that you have to come up with, which involves bringing the bishop back to life. But yeah, this is why I didn't like to allow this, and I played king c7 instead. And after a4, it's kind of a move that my opponent wants me to take on a4, like please take my pawn. So I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. Rook a8, bishop b5, and rook a5. I'm making sure that I'm defending everything on the 5th rank, and I don't want to take on b5 just yet. I want to have my rook on a5 first, so that I can always capture with the rook in case of bishop takes and then rook takes, you know, so I can trade rooks like this. Queen to d2, and now rook a8. I'm getting the other rook in the game. Queen c3. And here I was so happy to take that bishop off the board, because now after rook takes b5, rook takes b5, pawn takes. Well, there's king b6. I wanted to play king b6, but I was scared. I thought, and my bishop is pinned. Maybe, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. It feels like I'm very stuck there, so I just played b6, and I'm just freezing everything here, because there are no entry points for white anymore. I'm still attacking that pawn on f2, and yeah, I just have everything I wanted. And that pawn on b5, I'm going to capture it one day anyway. It's so weak there. So she plays king h1, of course, to get out of the pin. Now, of course, I cannot take the pawn because I am pinned here on the c file. Queen e7, bishop g1, and here I take the pawn on b5, so my king is having some space over there. Queen to d2, rook g8. This was it's actually crazy that the computer is giving this 0. So like I'm completely winning here, but in time trouble, this is time trouble situation, by the way. In time trouble, I got very nervous, and I just wanted to make sure that the queen is not coming in here that easily. I figured that maybe I have to push g4 or move the king. I thought of all of these moves, but it looks so scary, and I didn't want to risk things too much over here. So rook g8, my opponent goes for f4, and I go for g4. I want to open up the g file on my terms, not help my opponent in the process, right? She plays bishop takes c5, and apparently after this she is losing, because that's the b takes c5, queen to f2, king c6. Computer is going crazy. I don't know what computer is on about, but yeah, eval bar speaks for itself, I guess. Queen takes h4, g takes h3. Well, I did consider g takes h3, but I didn't want to play just yet, because queen b2. I attacked the rook first because I was scared of queen e7, queen d6 ideas, and now the pawn would also be hanging. So now the rook has to move, and now I take on h3, because now if she takes, of course, with the pawn, I'm happy to trade rooks, because this pawn on, queen endgame is winning, because my pawn on c5 is just going to move forward and promote. And queen takes h3, I mean, it doesn't really help much, right? So g3 made sense in a way, but now rook a8, I'm coming in on the 2nd rank, and after queen h8, this was move 40, so I played king b7 on the 14th move. Both of us were in huge time trouble over here, so we were playing on seconds, but now both of us made the 14th move, and we have 30 minutes on our clocks. And I played king b7 with the thought that I'm threatening checkmate on either h2 or g2. So the queen is covering h2, the rook is covering g2, which means that neither of these pieces can really move, right? I mean, most that the queen can do is move back and forth on the h file. So I figured that my opponent would play queen h7 here, and if I want to go back to c6, I can. Like, I don't have to commit to anything. King b7 was just a safe move, so that after the 14th move, I could start thinking. I went to the bathroom, and in the bathroom, like, for some reason, I was like super shaky and nervous from the stress that I had during the time trouble phase. Like, my pen wasn't writing, I was freaking out. I have my sheet actually over here. Sorry, that was a receipt over there. Yeah, okay, I mean, I don't know if you can see this over here, but like, there were some moments that my pen just refused to write anymore, and I was just like scratching a lot, and like, you can see the difference between the beginning and the like end phase of the game where I just couldn't write anymore. Like I was so freaking out during the game. But anyway, so yeah. In the bathroom, I was like, wait a second. So my opponent was going to play queen h7. And I started calculating. I barely ever do this because I just try to, relax and just not think about chess for a second when I leave the board. But in this very moment, I thought, let's calculate a little bit because it's like very easy to calculate. And I basically, like as I was away from the board, I figured all of it out. I'm just going to play king a6 because after queen h8, okay, in my calculations, I did miss that there's a check, but at the board, I realized I can just play c4 and it's fine, but just a little side note. Queen h8, I expected this, and now queen c2, because my king is just running. My king is running, queen c8 check, king b5, queen e8 check, king c4, and now checkmate is unstoppable. I'm threatening queen e4, of course also queen h2, so the queen has to retreat back to h8. So queen e4 check, rook g2, and after queen takes g2, I won my game. I was so happy seeing how the tournament went, right? This win means a lot to me. This win means a lot. I'm back in the game. Let's see if I play tomorrow. But for now, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thanks so much for all the love and support. I see the comments. I read all of them. I still have to go through some of them because things have been super hectic these days. But yeah, thank you so much for all the love and support. I hope to do well in the last couple of rounds. Let's see how many of those I will play. We have 3 more rounds to go, so it's going to be super exciting ending of the tournament. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.